I think that button worked.
It's a creature cabin, so we have to make creature noises.
Exactly.
Roar!
Button works.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greetings and salutations, my wonderful freaks. I am your Uncle Necro, and I welcome you all to the Tomb of the Terrible. It's the show in which I get to lovingly assault your senses with B-movie madness.
Hello, my lovelies. And as you can see, I am so not Uncle Necro. I am Jenny, your stand-in, but never, ever your replacement. We have Josh, Tom Dog, and Ron. Hi,
I am the floating head.
Toasty!
I am so happy you
It's
guys
like
are
way
here.
down at the corner. I am the floating
I
head.
know, right?
There you go.
So, how are you guys?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
I took the day off today after Pirate Fest because I figured I was going to need it in order to recover, and I was not wrong. So, yeah, I slept a very good portion of the day. So, it remains to be seen what it's going to be like when I go back to work. So, ugh.
It's going to be
day.
tiring.
I know. I was tired before and I'm tired again. Does that mean I'm retired?
I don't think you ever stop being tired. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's just a constant state, of like an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by outside forces. One object at rest tends to stay at rest when acted upon by outside forces. Well, an object that's tired tends to stay tired unless acted upon by outside forces, like caffeine.
I can't disagree.
It's
gentlemen.
it's science.
It make some sense.
It do. I just now came up with that. That's pretty funny, Ron.
Oh, watch it. He's talking to himself. Careful.
Yes. When you're
Sharing voices.
having a conversation with you, can you please tell us what your initial thoughts were of the movie?
Oh, okay. I did not do this on purpose, and I didn't know that it was set. The CC captions for the movie were turned on when I started the movie. I didn't know that on Tubi. Okay, so I don't know if it's the default setting or not. But I didn't really know what to think about this movie until I saw in the captions, Kung Fu Girl screams. And I thought, oh boy, where's this going? I have no idea. And that's how she's actually credited in the movie. if you read through the credits at the end, she's called Kung Fu Girl. I thought that was just hilarious. And it's like
I don't even read the credits.
it's so not kung fu, but I thought it was really well done. But to me, it was just a great setup for the movie because you don't know if this is main character, if she's a heroine, she's going to survive, she's not going to survive. So just the whole way that they set it up, and I just thought it was brilliant. I thought, oh boy, that's what this movie's going to be like, you know. And then you jump into the lead character Oz doing her band practice, and it just starts getting weirder and weirder from there until you're like, where are they going with this? What is happening? What's going on? Like, who are these people and why should I care about them? But it all sort of comes together without really any explanation. You're just kind of along for the ride. And I started to realize this movie is just like an Australian version of Evil Dead. And there's even a lot of parallels to Evil Dead in this movie. So I already knew, just like from the outset and the intro in the first 10 minutes, even before they do the title sequence, that this is going to be a fun movie. And I was not wrong, because I really enjoyed this movie from beginning to end.
About partway through the movie, they make it incredibly obvious because the poster of the Evil Dead.
I know,
Like,
I
hey.
saw that. Oh, and they got a Jason mask hanging on the wall. They got the Freddy hat.
Mhm.
You know, they had like a lot of like little Easter egg tidbits of other horror movies throughout. But I just thought, yeah, they knew what they were doing when they made this movie.
Oh yeah. Okay, Tom Dog, what is your initial thoughts about the movie?
I agree with what Ron was saying, and quick side note on the Evil Dead poster would have been fun. Would have been a fun Easter egg if they actually used the an actual. I guess they couldn't use the movie poster, but they went for the second best, and that was the Evil Dead video game for the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I mean, if you can't get the actual movie poster, I guess this is your second best. So I didn't really bother with that. But yeah, a lot of Evil Dead references. I thought that there was also even with the Oscar character, she was kind of going off as a Buffy the Vampire Slayer hybrid of both the movie and the TV show, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that was pretty funny. And then of course the beginning of the movie was like a bad Power Rangers ripoff, and like a Power Rangers stunt show, and it's a campy movie, and yeah, it was like, it's like I can't really fault them for that, because I kind of have a soft spot for these kind of movies, especially one of my there's like tons of favorites that I have with an old friend of mine that was starring in them, Carmine Capabianco. So I love that kind of campiness, humor, and everything. So it was right at home, and there were some spots that I was scratching my head and everything, like, okay, why? And I kind of, at first, I was questioning the movie quote from Forrest Gump, life's like a box of chocolates. But then as the movie progressed, I was understanding why that movie quote was there. So I was like, okay, you never know what you're going to get. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty creative. And then another movie quote from Star Troopers 3. I never saw that movie, so I can't really agree with what that says. So But if anybody saw it, and I guess I'll take their word for it until I actually see the movie. So,
What was the quote from Starship Troopers?
oh crap! I only saw
Um,
it that one. It just came out of nowhere, and I was like, and then the recommendations came up during that too. So I was like, oh, come on. It's like I'm trying to read this.
I think wasn't it the quote at the beginning of the movie, like when there's nothing left, God's the only thing left, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the quote.
So
You? Or wait a minute, were you done?
yeah, I'm done.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, wait a sec. Were you done? Okay.
All right, floating head.
Whee! Oh. To be honest, I don't know. I wasn't really sure what to expect from this movie. It was very spoofy.
Yeah.
Very spoofy.
It's almost like it was just a spoof of one of the most ridiculous movies out there.
Almost. I really don't have much to say about this one.
Alrighty.
Well, that just sums it up. Okay, show's over. Good night, everybody. Peace. Roll credits.
I'm out.
Okay, so therefore, anyway, my general thoughts were, where did it go?
Whoops. That was your general thoughts. TV
My
static.
thoughts
That
were,
was your general thoughts.
It started out with your expected garage band, and then she got kicked out, and of course I knew there was going to be something go really weird and wrong when they got to the cabin. I just wasn't expected to be a spoof of one of my most favorite movies ever, well, trilogies. And then from there, it's one of those I just gave up on trying to take it seriously. So, yeah. If you don't take it seriously, it's not that bad of a movie. It's rather enjoyable. Okay. Tom Dog. We did first impressions. Why did my brain go blank?
What do you not like about this movie?
Yeah, that's what I was
Oh,
thinking.
we got to do what do we like about the movie?
I think that's after what do we not like about this movie?
What?
Yeah.
Well,
It bounces.
what do you like about this movie, Tom Dog?
The spider jump scare. I have arachnophobia, so with the spider coming in and jumping in front of the camera, yeah. Yeah, that got me. The plot was a little out there, but as it progressed, I was kind of understanding what they were going on with, and it was creative. They really took advantage of that MA rating, so that was good. And
Yeah, they did.
You just wanted to see the chest meat. We know.
yes,
The chesticles.
yes, and yeah, that was pretty good. And so I laughed at some spots. where I thought was pretty funny and everything. So um, it was good. Those are my good spots.
Alrighty.
You guys are
Ron.
killing me here. You're not giving me a lot to work with. I thought a lot about this movie was done really well. Some of the dialogue is pretty funny, especially toward the end when Oz is just like ripping out the guts and the intestines of Rain when she has her tied up to the post, and Rain's like, "Oh, that's not supposed to be outside of me," or "Oh, I need that back," or "Oh, that stings." I just thought, that's really
That was
camp
funny.
humor because that's very Evil Dead-esque. And
Yeah.
then they're shagging on a shag carpet. Come on now. And then that turns into
Yeah, baby.
yeah, and then that turns into basically the basement scene from Evil Dead where they're trying to keep the monster down in the basement and she's like trying to push it back down. I thought, man, that
That
is
was
straight
funny.
out of Evil Dead, So
Yeah.
it's like there's a little homage right there. Some of the things I thought was weird was just like how they introduced characters in the movie, and you're like, why are these characters even here? Like the girl in the wheelchair with her friend that are walking through the woods. There's no introduction for them, but they just happen to be there. There's no explanation as to why they're trying to find their way through the woods. And the only one that actually escapes is the girl in the wheelchair because she does show up later on in the movie and eventually becomes like one of the pivotal characters, but you don't know what her deal is. The one, what was her name? The one driving the hearse, kind of the burnout that was possessed, that takes him to the cabin, and then she disappears and she's not seen like hardly ever again throughout the rest of the movie. I think she reappears once and then dies pretty quick. So there's just like characters that are introduced that have no backstory or anything like that. So that was one questionable thing that I wasn't really sure about, but it seems like everybody's in the movie for a reason. So they have a role to play, that they're there for a reason, even if they don't have a backstory or anything like that. So that's pretty good. There's no background story on what this ritual is, what this ritual is for, why they're trying to conduct this ritual. There's literally no explanation for it, just that they're trying to summon this unicorn. And the unicorn mask, I have to admit, was pretty badass looking. It was a really cool.
Yeah, it was.
And it was attached to a rather nice form. And the way that they did her wings and have her flying off, they did a really good job with that because it doesn't really look like wire work. It looks like, they must have spent probably some of their budget, like quite a bit of their budget on that wing contraption, because those were not low budget wings. They were done like really well. And then whatever the contraption was in the harness that picked her up into the air, none of that was visible. And it looked really natural. So I thought that was really well done. We don't know what this unicorn creature is, just that it's either a minion of evil or something of Satan. But I thought that it's kind of a neat character with no explanation just on its own, because it's so different than what you would normally see. It's not like your regular winged demon. It's not grotesque and foul looking because it's this attractive girl wearing a unicorn mask, and the mask is really badass looking. So there's just things that really don't make sense in the movie, but it all ties together pretty well. You've got dream sequences that act as foreshadowing. I thought that was pretty well done. And usually the dream sequences are Ozzy, having her band practice and things getting really weird. So I thought that was pretty cool with the way that they tied that all together, so that even those characters at the beginning of the movie in the band, they still have a role. they still have something in the movie because of the dream sequences taking place back there. It's like you're in charge of editing this movie after it's made. And somebody says, here's all the clips, figure it out. And you look through all of this shit, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? What is this supposed to mean? Give me some context. Give me some background information so I know, like, in what order this is supposed to go. They're like, man, here's a loose copy of the script. You know, it's like the pages aren't even numbered, and you have to go through and try to piece it all together and figure it out. And so the editor of this movie probably had the toughest job to put all of their shit together into something contiguous and make it make sense, and did a fantastic job doing so, because without context, taken separately, this shit would make no sense whatsoever, but it holds together and it moves the movie along. And like, there are like some graphics that look totally out of the 90s that you normally wouldn't see in horror movies. And I think it was the editor's way of transitioning from one scene to another, because they had no idea what to do with that segment. They're like, okay, well, here, I'm going to put this graphic in because it's the only way I know how to get from one scene to another. And it just adds another layer of campiness to the movie. And you're like, that was kind of cool. So there is like so much going on in this movie that if you just watch it one time, you're not going to get everything. I feel like it's a kind of movie you need to watch at least 2 or 3 times so you can really appreciate a lot of the things that are actually happening in the movie. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot going on in it that it deserves more than one watch.
Yes. It definitely deserves more than 2, because I've went through it twice, and I know there's still stuff I've missed. Because I'm like, I didn't get everything that time, and I know I didn't get everything that time. Let's try this again.
Well, one of the things I caught myself doing was, after I realized this is just an Australian version of Evil Dead, and then I saw the Evil Dead poster on the wall, I started looking in the background to see if I could find any other Easter eggs. And that's when I spotted the Jason mask and like the Freddy hat and all of that. So then I was like watching stuff in the background to see if there was anything else that I missed.
Yeah, understandable. What about you?
When it came to this movie, probably the parts I enjoyed the most about it had to have been mainly the Evil Dead references. At least the blatant ones, anyway. And then I had to laugh early on in the movie after she gets kicked out of the band and she's the vehicle splashes her with water. She starts storming off and then starts stomping the hell out of a stick. My only thought is, what the stick ever do to you? It's kind of a stupid moment, but you know.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
It's like stick abuse. Stick abuse. But I really ain't, as I said, I really ain't got much other than that.
I think I definitely like the scene where she's removing the organs and the pro quo back and forth they were having. The dance scene, that was actually kind of fun. The scene where she's sitting there watching herself sing and trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? I enjoyed that scene. It's one of this is one of those movies that was so ridiculous. I don't think I had much that I disliked. You know?
A couple other things. One for the Evil Dead reference when they're trying to figure out the magic words, and she says it's abracadabra, and then she says it's Klaatu Barada necktie, and everybody knows that Klaatu Barada necktie was from Army of Darkness, which was the third in the Evil Dead movie, but the Klaatu Barada Niktu actually comes from the day the Earth stood still, because it was the language or the phrase that needed to be given to the robot so that it wouldn't destroy the Earth. Army of Darkness just kind of ran with that, I guess. So for them to sort of spoof it with Klaatu Barada necktie, it's like, okay, well, it can't hurt to try it, but it's another one of those little spoofy things. And also when Oz manifests the evil Oz, and then they have to fight each other, I felt like this was taken right out of Superman 3, which arguably was not the best Superman movie. I think Superman 4 was probably worse than Superman 3, because at least Superman 3 had Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
But yeah, the part where Superman is fighting the evil version of Superman, if you watch like the
That was
whole
my favorite
lighting
scene in the movie.
What's that?
That was my favorite scene in the movie. Superman and Clark Kent fighting. That was
each
like
other?
the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually loved that scene. It reminded me of that they were this close of getting Bizarro. This close.
Yeah, because like his whole hairstyle changes and everything.
Yeah.
But as far as this movie goes, if you watch, the lighting changes during this fight scene, and the costumes change, and they start looking more like superhero costumes because they're Technicolor and they're skin tight. Even Oz's outfit changes just slightly to resemble more of like a superhero costume. And it's just like, that's one of those little details. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss it. But if you watch for it and you notice it, you're like, okay, that's actually kind of funny. That's actually kind of cool, because now they're doing like the superhero, fighting the bad guy scene. It's just like, that's, it's just little details like that. When somebody says, here's something funny, let's do this, and the director's like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And it's not even called for. There's no reason to do it, but just the simple fact that they put it in, and you're just like, that's just another small detail, I think, that makes the movie worthwhile.
Oh yeah. Dude. Okay. Let's find out what everybody disliked about the movie. Starting with you.
Starting with me.
Yeah, I've decided to just randomly keep switching which direction the circle's going.
You're fucking with my OCD here.
And I am bored of like going in one direction at the same time. So the problem is you guys pick the most.
Round, spin around.
I literally took a month off for a mental health break. I need to change things up, okay? So let's continue with what you disliked.
My dislikes, basically, one of the main problems I had with the movie is there were several parts in the movie where it was hard to keep my attention. And that's probably more of a me problem, but and he really got much else.
Alrighty.
That's it.
Tom Dog.
What I didn't like about the movie was the fact that she hates Thursdays. So I felt offended when she said that. And she said, "Oh, it's got to be a Thursday," and then in big bold letters on the street it said Thursdays suck, and I took offense to that, because Thursdays never suck, because I always start the weekend early. on a Thursday. So I get the party started early. And
Yeah, but this is Australia, and everything is opposite. Everything is reversed. So, in Australia, Thursdays could suck. How do you know?
Yeah. True. But why not a Wednesday?
Well, because everyone loves Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's hump day. I think
Yeah.
it was a Wednesday because, there was a lot of humping in that movie from that couple.
Yeah.
That could just be an everyday affair.
Anywho, so yeah, to me Thursdays, the special effects of the Dark Unicorn, it's a blink if you miss it, then I hope you did type of moment, because that was the cheesiest CGI I have ever seen. That was like the lamest CGI I have ever seen on that. They should have just cut that part out and just had that that the more realistic of the unicorn. That was more badass, and they didn't need to have it go and do the whole 90 CGI. So yeah, it was that I didn't like. The blood, it was kind of watery, like it was like cherry, like if it was like a cherry juice. Yeah, that I'm kind of it could have been a little bit more consistent, and but yeah, it just, the blood looked very, very juicy, and so yeah. What else? The fight scenes, there were some that were good, but the beginning fight scene, you could tell that when the knife went into to the guy's head, it was off to the side, and it's like, bad shot, bad shot, or at least clean it up a little bit to make it look like it went through the head. So, but yeah, and the singing, the song. I'm sorry. It may be good. It may have been good to some, but it can never top a hole, and hole is a hole. Hole is just a hole. It can't. Hole is just a hole. Is still at my number one. And
Alrighty then.
But yeah, and plus also the characters in the band had literally no they were in at the beginning, and then a little in the dream sequence, and then that was it. They could have been used in the movie to be killed off one by one. That would have been
all at once at the
okay.
end.
Yeah. And then, and then the obvious plot twist, the obvious foreshadowing, or whatever you want to call it, it's like, oh, we're gonna, maybe you guys should dress up like, the instruments that you're playing, and and you'd be like playing yourselves and everything. And it was like, that guy was like a discount, was a Temu version of Jack Black. You know what I mean? But it was fun for me because I was able to riff those parts and just reference a lot of Jack Black movies. So it was a lot of fun. So
oh yeah,
another man's trash is another. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So thank you, producers, for giving me that. Treasure. So.
exactly.
But yeah, those are my dislikes of the movie.
Run.
There's not a lot that I dislike about this movie, other than the way that a lot of the characters were introduced, and there's not a lot of backstory given on any of this stuff. Not that I think it matters, because if you just sort of go with the movie for what it is, you'll be fine. One thing that hasn't been mentioned, I think Tom Dog touched on it just a little bit, because when he mentioned the singing, is there's a whole ass rap battle at the end of this movie where Oz goes against us. I guess it's supposed to be the devil, or the unicorn's boss, so to speak, I guess. And this was straight out of like Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny, but it's really set up like epic rap battles of history. And
Yes,
I
it
feel
is.
like they lost a golden opportunity there, because they've already displayed graphics on the screen throughout the movie. Like Tom referenced the Thursday Suck. They've done a few things like that, but they totally could have done like, epic rap battles, and then you have the devil versus Oz, and then or they do like a round one or something like that. But what gets me is that the devil's rap is fucking on, and Oz's is so fucking lame. It's like her rap is terrible. It's just like, how on earth did she win this rap battle against the devil, because her rap was terrible? And I was just like, I don't know. But
She won by stabbing the devil in the
Yes.
I'm like, okay, whatever. But see, that would have been another opportunity. They could have brought the band back from the beginning of the movie to have them be the backing band for the devil when they're doing this rap battle, and have them like all demonified with makeup and shit, and like the scene from Dusk Till Dawn, when the band turns into vampires and they're using body parts as instruments, because that would have like harkened back to what the dude said at the beginning of the movie about dressing up as instruments and then playing humans or something like that, and that would have been a really good callback for it, but
yeah.
by that time they probably already threw away a bunch of their budget on the freaking unicorn wings and like some of the special effects and shit that they had. Some of the special effects were actually kind of low budget but very effective, like the painting on the wall. Who the fuck knows what that painting is anyway? I've never seen it before. So it's like something from the 15th century. Did they have wheelchairs back then? Who the fuck knows? It's like how are you the sudden expert on this particular painting that nobody's ever seen before? And to be honest, I still have no idea what the painting was, because it's not very like articulate. It's not very detailed. It's just there on the wall. But like the low budget effect, when she cuts the painting and then the blood starts spilling out, like that's a very easy effect to do, very low budget, just by having somebody standing behind the wall and then pouring the bucket of blood through the slit in the painting. Something like that. But it's still it's rather effective. So they had, sort of a mix of like different effects in this movie, and for the most part, they all kind of work, because when taken in total, it does add to the campiness of this movie. And once you realize that this is kind of a spoof of like Evil Dead and a lot of Cabin in the Woods style movies, then you sort of take everything with a grain of salt at that point. And like the end scene, or the mid credits end scene, and you see Oz return, and now she's got the wings. So I thought that was, I don't know if anybody watched it that far, but I thought that was a pretty cool little detail too, because it kind of sets up like maybe there could be a sequel, because we don't know why she's returning, but she doesn't have the unicorn mask, so maybe she's a force for good.
Yeah,
we
you
don't
saw
know.
their version of God,
Yeah.
and then you saw her come back as an angel.
That would be the I guess the interpretation of that, or that's what they're trying to insinuate. But of course, there's no dialogue at that point, so you don't really know. But it does hint that maybe there could be a sequel. Like she's supposed to battle this cult that that does this ritual at the cabin. So who knows? I did not actually do any research to find out whether or not there was a Creature Cabin 2. So maybe it hasn't been made yet. I don't know. This movie's fairly recent.
I have utterly no idea. Okay. I can honestly say this is one of those movies where I got to the point where I decided it was just a spoof of spoofs, or just it did not take itself seriously in general. So it's one of them. It's on the list of I like it as is, and I've decided, yeah, there's flaws and whatever, but it's supposed to be, and I just don't dislike it. Okay. Well, we are going to take our 3-minute break, and then we're come back.
30-minute break.
The what?
30-minute break.
3-minute break.
I was gonna
Our
say,
3-minute break.
I'll go make dinner.
Come back and tell what we thought and look at a few reviews and stuff, and then go from there.
Roll it.
I'm
Roll
trying to
that fake
re-find it.
footage.
It's hiding.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brick.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Okay. Let's see. What was your rating out of let's go with weird cabins in the woods. How many cabins of the wood in the woods would you give this Tom Dog, and would you recommend it to others?
I'm going to be very fair about this. I mean, they did a pretty good job, and I don't know what I stepped on, but and I will give this a 6 cabins out of 10. Seems kind of fair. And but yeah, 6 cabins out of 10. For the campiness, I did enjoy it. There were, with the parts that I didn't like, I'm not gonna mention them again. But yeah, it just had a nice little homage to all the campy crazy movies from from the 80s, like the Evil Dead movies and the some other ones too. And but yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And I'm not gonna you know say it wasn't bad. I still enjoyed it. Will I recommend anybody watching this film? Yeah. If you're into campiness of the Evil Dead movies, then yeah, this would be right up your alley. Because they had, where they had the stuff that hit it, it had a pretty good plot. And yeah, it was right there. So yeah, I do recommend this movie.
Alrighty. Ron, how many cabins in the woods would you give this movie?
Well, since he gave it 6, I'm assuming that we're doing on a scale of 1 to 10 and not 1 to 5.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
on this show we're always 1 to 10. On Bloody Binge, it's 1 to 5.
All right. Well, before I give my rating, something that I was just now thinking about is there is a movie called Cabin in the Woods, which obviously plays on the whole trope of Cabin in the Woods. We know, Evil Dead is like one of the most iconic Cabin in the Woods movie. Now, the movie Cabin in the Woods is very interesting because of the reveal that happens about 3/4 of the way through the movie, which completely changes the whole direction that the movie goes. And then you're like, huh, what the fuck? But it's one of the coolest reveals ever in a Cabin in the Woods movie for me. Now, this movie is not quite on that level, but it is campy fun along the same lines as Evil Dead and some other Cabin in the Woods movies that use that trope. It made me wonder, what was the first movie that used a Cabin in the Woods trope? How far back does it go? And I'm thinking, like, Night of the Living Dead, the original Romero movie, is pretty much like a Cabin in the Woods movie. It's people that are trapped in a house trying to escape the zombies, and the house is isolated. So it, in and of itself, is kind of like a Cabin in the Woods movie. This movie is, in my opinion, maybe not as iconic as Night of the Living Dead, but it's somewhat marginally better because of the campiness and the humor that's used in it. Night of the Living Dead was meant to be scary. This one's not so much meant to be scary as it is meant to be fun and campy. So I don't really know if you can grade this one on the same scale that you would with the Cabin in the Woods movie or Night of the Living Dead. But you sort of have to place it along the same lines as Evil Dead. And then the question is, who did it better? Evil Dead might win just because it's the original and they did a really good job on a credit card budget. So for this movie, I kind of agree with Tom Dog. It's a little better than Midway because of the campiness. So I could easily give it 6 Cabin out of the Woods, but I want to give it one more because the soundtrack is phenomenal. This movie has a great soundtrack. A lot of the songs, I think that they were all actually done by the band that appears in the movie. Maybe not all of the songs, but I think a good majority of them were probably done by the band that actually appears in the movie. And whenever you get something like that involved, when you get, original music from a band for a movie that appears in the movie, I always like that because they're keeping everything in house and it's among friends and you're getting everybody involved, So I always like that. So I have to give it one extra cabin for that reason. So I'm going to go with 7.
Awesome.
And would I recommend it? Hell yeah. And I've already got a couple people in mind that I can recommend it to, because yeah, I think this one needs to be seen.
Yes. I agree. What about you?
I would probably give this one about a 5, just on the grounds that it had a lot of it had a few moments where it just couldn't quite keep my attention.
Okay. Would you recommend it?
To someone who I know likes spoofy type movies. If you're not that into spoofy type movies, I don't really think you would get any of this.
True. Alrighty. I would definitely give it on the basis of the movies we've been watching on the show. I give this a good I'd give this a 7, Cabins in the Woods. I would recommend it to others. And I'm probably going to rewatch it because it's one of those where I definitely miss things. And although there's probably more little Easter eggs somewhere in it. No, where did it go? Because I've been trying to find things. Because I forgot to set it up before the show because my favorite co-host isn't here for the show. The only trivia that the usual site has is the song playing at the end credits is Statues from the Canadian indie band Mouthful of Daisy. And the other one is the song in this movie, Time for Kicking, is from the debut album of the same name and was written by the band The Bare Hambones. As for 5-star reviews, there wasn't any of the usual fun satiric ones. Like, hands down, the soundtrack of this movie was absolutely the best part of the feature. But the low budget vibe and quirky story bring an entertaining 80-minute romp through the cabin in the woods type gore fest. But conscious special effect, a budget conscious special effects, not quite balanced choreography, and a wide range of acting talent from moments when it's absent to near Oscar-winning performances. We actually really enjoyed it. Thanks, production team. That one's
kind of agree with a lot of that, actually.
Say what?
I can kind of agree with a lot of that, actually, especially about some of the acting talents, because this probably had a lot of new actors that weren't really experienced, and some of the acting, was definitely better than others. And for the people that weren't as experienced or weren't as good at actors, are not really shown in the movie as much, So I can kind of agree with that. And like I did mention that before, that it does seem to be a wide range of special effects in terms of low budget towards throwing more money at it. So that review actually does bring up some good points.
Oh yeah.
And Friday disappeared again.
Sorry, I'm here. The problem is
The voice from the
I
void.
am going blind and I can't adjust a couple of things.
I have a
can't
white
believe
cane if
this.
you need it.
Say what?
I have a white cane if you need it.
It would probably help if I cleaned my glasses, but I'm not sure where the kids had my glass cleaners. They're somewhere in the
Oh, boy.
headboard. I can't believe I sat through this whole movie and liked it. It was really dumb, but it was fun to watch. And I think Chevy Pips, the idea was supposed to be nonsense. And apparently, the other one that I found was the movie was free. I rented 65 for $6, and this one was way more enjoyable. So 5 stars. Alrighty.
Need a white cane?
I should probably get new glasses. Okay. But that'll be a next year thing. Okay, let's go through. Okay, I know which one I'm opening now. Okay, present.
Present wheel. Oh.
Yes. How's it looking over here? Would help if I did share screen.
There we go.
There we go.
It's alive.
You need to expand the window a little bit, though, to kind of cut off the wheel.
Okay, let's get this thing to go away. There we go. One, we get no music today.
We got 12 movies.
Frogs, 1972.
Frogs, 1972.
Okay.
Oh, so that was the year I was born. So that'll be interesting to see what they did back then.
And let's see where this movie
find out.
is.
Give me a
Killer
moment.
Kermit from the 70s. Oh.
Okay, it is on Pluto TV.
Pluto?
Pluto, Amazon, and Apple TV.
I have a feeling this movie is going to be a lot like Night of the Leaper.
Okay, it is definitely included in my Prime subscription, so that makes that a lot easier. I will find links later and put them in all the places. Ladies and gentles, ladies and mentagents, and we will go from there.
Sounds like a medical condition. I have a serious case of mental gents.
Okay. Horror movie watchers, let's go with that because that gets everybody. Okay. Where do you want people to find you, Tom Dog?
You can find me on YouTube at Tom Arcade 69. Got some pretty cool stuff coming up this Thursday with Channel X and Wrestling Prime. No wrestling. Wrestling Prime Elite will be on this coming Sunday because Saturday will be my review of Saturday night's main event for the OG Wrestling Prime. So pretty much laid back episodes this week and everything. So no shows on Friday. So be taking a break. And I did a review already on the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup with jelly. And so if you want to know what I thought about them, you could check them out on my channel. And who knows, there'll be some other reviews I'm going to be doing as well too. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that anyway. So you could see all that on Tom Arcade 69. And also one more important thing, Face Hug that subscribe button.
Exactly. Ron, where would you like people to find you?
They can find me on my author page on Facebook at Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author, which is currently being managed by our very own Friday. She's been the one posting all of the cool stuff lately. Not been on a writing update. It's been from Jenny doing all the posting. So thank you very much for that, Jenny, by keeping that page live and active and all of that. Yeah, I'm still trying to get around to working on the novel, so we'll see how that goes. I probably would have worked on it today, but I spent most of the day sleeping, so we'll see.
Understandable. I just hope you like the new graphics I made of Inside My Nightmares.
Oh yeah, it's always good because it saves me from having to do it, and that's very time-consuming stuff.
Yeah, well, it was at least enjoyable to do because I like reading. Tom Dog, I can't wait to find out what you put in Killer Stroke. And at some point, I will be able to read Ron's. I think he sent it.
I submitted it. You should have it.
Yeah, but I've been trying to get ready for this party Friday. So, yeah.
I'm gonna be getting back into the to finishing my short story by sometime this week and everything.
Well,
And,
Friday.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
Del and Raz both read my story for Killing Stroke, and they both gave it their approval. So I'm fairly certain that you'll like it as well.
Oh, I don't ever doubt your writing, Ron. That is not a thing I doubt because you are an awesome author. I don't doubt Tom Dog's writing. I just know it's very hard for him to write sometimes, which is fine. I had a block as well, and now it's like it's all falling on paper. As long as I write it out on notebook paper, it's coming out. So, and you will be published for the very first time. Your pictures. Friday is his debut publishing for his photography. I am so excited for my husband. So
awesome.
He'll be here Friday.
I made pictures.
Yay!
Hello.
So
you should give some context to what these pictures are for so that people will understand them when they see them, because I have a feeling they're going to be pretty interesting.
Okay, basically, due to you guys know about the Bewildered Beast thing.
Yes,
so
we do.
We went through the park, and Raz's contacts randomly. Behold, the Bewildered Beast was here. So we went through and we took lots of pictures. We did not send all the pictures in because a lot of them were of our children and other people's children because this was a holiday event. But the ones that were just taken of the park itself that had nobody in it, he sent 5 of those in. And they're all of them are titled, Behold, the Bewildered Beast was here. So, yeah.
No, I look forward to seeing the photo.
My word is not brain.
So where do you want people to find you?
Under my ventriloquist hat.
You're just going to find a lot of very mousy, brown, and gray hair under there.
There's a lot of gray hair over here.
Yeah, but the really funny thing is you've had gray hair since before I met you in 10th grade. So yeah. Anyway, let's get back on track.
Find her if you want to talk to me, find her. She'll translate.
Yeah, I'll translate Josh to you and you to Josh. But anyway, thank you all for joining us on this chaotic episode. And yes, this movie was chaotic. It was fun. It was definitely something I recommend y'all going to find out. Y'all going to watch. That is what I'm trying to say. So I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Thank you, my amazing gentlemen, for being here and making my day better.